Sorry, yeah, I can't.
That was super awkward.
No,
Welcome in, everyone, to another live episode of 410 Sports Talk. As you can see, DK is now in the background, and I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell, and we're here to kind of give a proper recap and reaction to that final Steelers game. We did a quick instant reaction as we were driving out of the stadium parking lots, but wanted to give it a little bit more of a recap now that we've kind of had a day to collect our thoughts and talk about it. But shout out to Dawson. Appreciate you being in here. Lindsay, what's going on? I saw Lindsay went to her first game, Jimbo, a couple weeks back. So shout out to Lindsay.
Make sure you got an opportunity to go to the game. That's awesome.
Yeah, and luckily for you, you weren't there yesterday because let me tell you, it was cold, it was wet out there, and there was way too many damn Steeler fans waving that hideous flag. That disgusting flag was way too prevalent in our stadium. Of course, they had the final laugh as they came out with the overtime win and got into the daggone playoffs somehow. Jimmy, were you at all happy to see the Patriots lose that way? Yeah, at least the Ravens still wouldn't have gotten in.
It was a serious relief, right? But I would have been even. It would have just capped off my night if Brandon Staley didn't call that stupid timeout.
Yep.
So would you fire him on the spot for that?
You know, I don't think I would, only because it's his first year, and maybe you kind of if you look at him like a rookie. You know, a rookie makes mistakes, and he's a rookie coach. It was a blunder. And
I was like, that's like running to the wrong end zone mistake.
It's bad, but isn't it fitting that the Chargers did that? Because I mean, even under Philip Rivers, they found a way to somehow blow it, and yeah, that was a creative way, but. You know, you got to give the Raiders some credit, though. Also, the fact that they bounced back from all that distraction in the
and let me tell you something. With Darren Waller back,
there's nobody. You don't want to play them.
Darren Waller, you know, people might forget because he's been injured, right? But of all the tight ends, like it's hard to say this, but based on his physical abilities, he might be the hardest to defend in a one-on-one scenario because he's the fastest of the main one. He's the tallest. Right? Like he's probably got the best catch radius. So, I mean, you know, the stats don't bear that out, but he's a problem is what I'm trying to say. Like,
no doubt. And they love throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
And then when you compliment him with Hunter Renfrow and, so they got some guys and I certainly, and then you got the pass rush on the other side that'll certainly terrify you. So yeah, don't want to have to see them. Good thing is the Steelers now have to go into Arrowhead and take on the Chiefs, and I think we all expect that to go the same way. But really, we're here to recap last game, and so I guess the best place to start is some statistics, and then I have some things I certainly want to touch on and talk about. But just to start, Tyler Huntley goes 16 of 31 for 141 and 2 interceptions, as well as a lost fumble. Man, certainly not his shining moment, and over the last couple of weeks, he showed what we were worried about. I mean, when Huntley first took over, we say this, and we said this about other teams when we were playing teams that were using a backup quarterback. Sometimes for a couple games, you can survive it because there's not as much of a book on them. You're kind of unsure as a defensive coordinator what their game plan is going to be with a backup, and so for a couple games, if you have a sufficient backup, he can get you by. You can compete. And I'd say we competed for more than just a couple games. I mean, 5 of our 6-game losing streak ended, we lost by a total of like 7 points. So he did compete. But ultimately, I think showed why he's a backup. And I think he's a good backup for us, but he's a backup for a reason. What are your thoughts on Tyler Huntley yesterday?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, yeah, that's always the concern with a backup who's playing well, is you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And excuse my hoarse voice, still recovering from. It was pretty embarrassing being on some customer calls today. But you know what? I was on a call with a few Bengals fans.
Really? Were they? By the way,
they were actually nice. They were actually nice.
Okay.
And they talked about the injuries and stuff like that. And they were like, "Look, dude, this is our first potential playoff win in 31 years. So I don't know any leg that we have to stand on." So there's a Bengals fan that got it.
Yeah, that's reasonable. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say though?
No, I think that's just, Tyler Huntley, while he's still obviously a bro, he hasn't reached his ceiling. I think he definitely showed that there's a reason he was undrafted and he was a backup, and it's because he's got some limitations. But as a backup, I still have confidence in him, and I'd still feel okay if he was to go in a pinch for a game or 2 game stretch. But like most backups, when you're forced into long-term play, you get revealed. A lot of your weaknesses get revealed.
Well, I had this thought yesterday while we were watching the game. My brother's at the game, and he mentioned to me, he was like, why don't they, like in soccer, like international soccer, it's year round. Like it's just league to league, and players are playing year round, right? Like you could never do that with football because of injuries and stuff like that. But he's like, well, why aren't these other leagues more successful? The leagues that are in the off season, right? Like the USFL, the AFL, the whatever, the CFL, I don't know. But it's because when you got fringe NFL players, football is really hard. Like every sport is really hard. I'm not saying it's, other sports aren't, but my point is that there's not enough guys that produce high enough quality football that's compelling. And so when you put in backups that aren't supposed to produce high enough quality football for an entire season or an extended period of time, this is what you get, right? Like you were saying, you can trust them in spots, but when does the other shoe drop? The reason that starters are starters is not only because of the flash in the pan type plays, it's because they're incredibly consistent.
Yeah, exactly. That is what makes a pro better from a Joe. I mean, on the golf course, I can occasionally hit a nice shot on a par 3 that maybe on that one shot, if given just one opportunity, Tiger may do a couple inches worse than me on that one specific shot. But obviously over the long haul of an entire 18-hole course, he would absolutely dismantle me. So it's all about the consistency, and that separates the good from the great, and the all-pro from the backups. So that's certainly what we saw there. But also wanted to go into a couple more details. Latavius Murray, about the quietest 150 I've seen.
150. See, we thought it was only 140. It was 150.
Yeah, maybe because we were there, or I'm not sure. But 16 carries, 150 yards, and a touchdown. Had that long of 46 yards. I mean, I think this is where the frustration came from the fans. Because when I tell you they had 150 yards, I bet you'd be surprised to hear that this is how our first half drives went. First drive, 5 plays, 19 yards, fumble. Of course, that was the fumble that ultimately gave the Steelers their first 3 points. Next drive, 4 plays, 10 yards, interception. Next drive, 5 plays, 30 yards, turnover on downs. Next drive, 3 plays, 3 yards, punt. Next drive, 7 plays, 25 yards, punt. Next drive, 4 plays, 27 yards, punt. And then the final drive, let's see, of the first half, 8 plays, 34 yards, field goal. So you go fumble, interception, turnover on downs, punt, field goal. I mean, look, the defense, and we're going to talk about the defense and some of the struggles we see, but that is just embarrassing. I mean, when you talk about, this isn't the old Steelers defense. This is a defense that had given up big numbers throughout the season. I mean, I know the weather was bad, but that doesn't mean you can't run the ball. I mean, it certainly inhibits what you use some of the downfield passing. But, Jimmy, I mean, how did they only end up with 3 points despite having the defense set them up multiple? I mean, they had so many. How many possessions is that? That's just in the first half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 first half possessions, and they come away with 3 points, Jimbo. And they gave 3 to the other team by turning it over inside their own red zone.
Yeah, I mean, it was brutal to watch in all ways. I mean, the only real bright spot of that offense was Mark Andrews. Well, and obviously you talked about Latavius Murray, but Mark Andrews making the occasional play, but he was certainly the only thing keeping that heart beating, right, yesterday, from keeping it from flatlining. I don't have a solid answer for you. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying, fire Greg Roman, it's all in the offensive coordinator. And I put a tweet out today because I said to you on a call, like, I don't know if I have a strong opinion about which one was worse and which one is to blame more. Is it the defense?
And you're talking about for the season, not for this specific game.
Yeah.
When you talk about the defense.
Yeah, exactly. Like, which one is to blame more for the season and the woes that they've had, the defense or the offense? The statistics aren't great on either end, right? Mm-hmm. But specifically speaking about the offense and in this game, definitely some questionable play calls.
Yeah.
Definitely some missed opportunities. Like, the coach can't make Hollywood catch that ball on the sideline,
or catch the ball in the end zone.
Right. Can't make him catch it in the end zone. Can't make him run with heart. Right. Like he can't do those things. He can't make him shine in big moments instead of shrivel.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so lots of issues on the offense. I mean, and I'm excited to get into all of it. Right. But speaking about yesterday, yeah, I mean, it starts with Huntley, moves to the offensive line, and then you got to look at the inconsistent play call and the head scratchers, right? And then some guys that seem like they're already packed. Even though Marquis Brown had 1,000 yards on 80,000 targets from Lamar Jackson before he got hurt, he seemed like he was ready to go on vacation already. It's just my opinion. Just seemed like he was ready to go on vacation. Now, he got up to the podium and talked about Super Bowls and this, that, and the other. That's fine to say on the podium when it's warm and you're clean and you're not out there on the field taking hits, right? But you're not paid to stand at a podium and speak. I mean, that is part of your contractual agreements. My point is, like, you're paid to get out there when it's rainy, catch the ball, come up on third down, run with some heart, stiff arm a guy, etc. Right? Like, that's what you're there for. So, lots of things when it comes to
and Jimmy, I just want a clarification. Who did you pick as your breakout offensive player of the week?
Yeah, I picked Hollywood Brown.
Called him right out.
There's a problem. Thanks, Hollywood.
And here's my thing. He gets 7 targets.
Marquis Brown. Does anyone know his middle name?
Yeah, there you go. Now I'm not sure of his middle name, but he got 7. He got 7 targets. Bateman gets 3.
Head scratcher, right?
I mean, only because it seems like Bateman has built a rapport with Huntley, and he's certainly shown the ability to pull down the tough grab. I mean, look, I'm not ready to give up on Marquis, but obviously yesterday was a disappointing outing for him. I think he'll tell you that. It was a bit of a down. All I know is Shooters Media. Shout out to Mike. By the way, I missed your call and text last night, but he says he saw us getting. What is this? He said earlier. He said he filmed us getting bullied by a crew of Steelers fans, and it's not a good look. Come on now, you done bumped your head, Mike. That was certainly not the case. You may not hear it as much in my voice as you do in Jimmy's, but we were letting them Steelers fans have it from start to finish, and I don't remember hearing any Ravens fans within earshot doing anything similar to what we were doing. So
not a chance, nothing.
We let them dudes have it from start to finish, and unfortunately, they got the last laugh. But
we get the ultimate last laugh in that Mason Rudolph is most likely their quarterback next year,
and that's not a good look. But I wouldn't also be shocked. You said female Steelers fans. Definitely, I don't remember seeing any of them bias.
Sounds like some alternative facts here.
Yeah, I think you're making up some stories here, Mike.
Let's see the tape. Roll the tape.
Yeah, if you got footage of it,
tape, bro.
Put the tape out. That's all I want to see. But yeah, I mean, offensively yesterday was
disastrous.
It was frustrating. It's super frustrating. It had so many opportunities. I mean, we only talked about the first half, but I want to quickly go into what happened in the second half, because you come out and I'm like, okay, here we go. 5 plays, 68 yards, 2.5 minutes, ends in a touchdown. And it was really chunk play after chunk play. I mean, after a Devontae Freeman first down play that ends up negative yards, after that, it was nothing but success. It was a 5-yard pass to Freeman. It was an 8-yard scramble from Huntley. It was a 10-yard run from Latavius Murray. And then it's, of course, capped off by the 46-yard touchdown run by Latavius, which I'm pretty sure I could have ran that in. I mean, the hole that it was opened up by the offensive line. Yeah, I might have been caught from behind. That's actually true. But I'd have gotten a first, Jimbo. I'd have gotten at least 10. I think I'd have gotten 10 and then just absolutely depleted at the 11-yard mark. But
can you imagine your shoes standing there in the mud?
Yeah, just an absolute mess. But then after that successful drive, their very next drive is 3 plays, 8 yards punt. Then 8 plays, 64 yards pick. And that interception in the end zone ultimately proved to be the difference maker in the game. And the reason we went into overtime, because he got greedy. He threw and threw a lollipop off his back foot into a window.
Yep.
I mean, if he just steps into that ball and puts something on it, it gets through. Yeah. But, man, just a disappointing decision to even throw that when you got 3 points on the board in a game where it shows that the points are at a premium. Neither offense is looking very good.
Yeah.
And you turn it over after an 8-play, 64-yard drive. But then you follow that up with a 3-and-out punt. Then you get a field goal, which which tied the ball game after they, it was a good answer. But then another 4-play punt when you got the ball back with 2 minutes left and you had a real opportunity to maybe go down and win the game. And then you win the coin toss, Jimbo. You win the coin toss in overtime, and we're cheering, we're celebrating. We're going, yes, that's Big Ben's final loss here in Baltimore is deciding coin flip because he went out there to call the heads or tails. And we go 7 plays, 23 yards, and we punt in overtime, which, of course, leads to their game-winning drive. Man, it's frustrating. I mean, can you just chalk it up to, wow? I mean, I think all of us agree and believe and really just know if Lamar was in that game, it's a totally different ball game. I mean, I don't think anyone can doubt that. But is it just on Huntley? I mean, can we start saying, look, we had so much success on the ground. Why didn't we continue to hammer the ball? Yeah. Why did we go to a more pass-happy offense, down the stretch after such success running the ball?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think Greg gets a big piece of this.
Like, listen, overtime. The final drive, I should say. Well, I guess that one you kind of had to because of clock purposes. So let me just pull up the overtime drive because I just want to know, because I see Latavius gets the first down carry. He goes for 11. Good. Second, another first down. He goes for 4. Then Huntley scrambles. Then Latavius up the middle gets another first down. Then we got Latavius for 1. Then Huntley pass, incomplete, and we punt. Why, Jimbo?
I don't know, and it's weird because we've come from the days where 3rd and 8. Remember in 2019, it's 3rd and 8. We hand it off and we feel good about it.
Yeah.
It's so weird that we've gone from that to this, right? Where we give up on the run so quickly. So yeah, it's really interesting, and Greg has a lot to do with that. I'd like to know how his confidence is as a play caller right now. But yeah, I don't think it's all on Huntley. It never is. Certainly not in football, right? It's never on one guy, unless it's Baker Mayfield, and then it's always on him all the time. But I think at the end of the day, the way I summarize this game is that there were so many moments where the snowball was at the top, was at the summit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all we had to do was go boop, and push it over, make one play, right? And we just didn't do it. And speaking offensively or defensively, I think that there were just moments where it was like right there. And there's always 3, 4, 5 of those in a game. Not a single one went our way.
Right. Yep.
So
we're in 19, all of them went our way.
I mean, if you think about Ben in the fourth quarter, I can't remember all his conversions on 3rd down, but if you look at his stats in the fourth quarter, I know it was like a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 4th and 8 conversions, all of them, just in the fourth quarter.
So that in that area, you could kind of point towards, wow, it pays to have a veteran quarterback who's done it all, seen it all. Because you're right. I mean, that 4th and 8, I mean, there was a lot of big big moments where, Big Ben came through. That throw to Pat Freiermuth with, who was it draped Jefferson draped all over him. And then, of course, Deontay Johnson on that little, I think it's called a China route, where they go in and then quickly come right back out, left Jimmy Smith just kind of an embarrassing fashion. So, yeah, I mean, some of it's chalked up to just the quarterback making plays. Their quarterback made plays. Ours didn't. Tyler Huntley had multiple opportunities to make plays, and he sailed balls over people's heads. He, short hopped a couple. And again, the conditions were not great to throw the ball. It was a rainy, cold day. I'm sure losing some dexterity in the fingers did not help. But, man, it's just frustrating because the defense kept setting the offense up with opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And the offense just couldn't put them away. And so it was super frustrating. But I want to talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball. We talked a lot of offense, and I guess we didn't say enough about – shout out to Mark Andrews for, again, being the stud that he is. And, he got 16 targets and only turned them into 8 catches. But how many of those were due to the fault of him? I mean, I think all 8 of those ones that he didn't miss were probably errant throws, because I don't remember seeing him drop a ball that he shouldn't have dropped. Or not catch a ball that he should have been able to. So shout out to Mark Andrews offensively, but defensively, we got a lot to discuss in the upcoming offseason about who the Ravens are bringing back and who they're going to let ultimately leave. But Brandon Williams might be the toughest of them all, because the dude just, I mean, there's a big reason the Ravens are still number one against the run. And I think he's, maybe the biggest of them all. I mean, certainly
literally
Campbell,
and
yeah, to me, it's him and Calais as the two guys that really you give the most credit to. Of course, credit goes around even, to a bunch of guys, but man, them two yesterday, Calais and Brandon Williams, they both had big games in the run game, and they're both set to possibly leave. If they both leave, Jimbo, that's a huge loss. I mean, talk about what those two guys brought to the game yesterday.
Yeah, not only in their play, but, reflecting their plays, they do set a tone. Like, they don't accept that a team is going to run on them, right? Like, the golden child that is Naji Harris, I don't know what his stats ended up being. I remember one run at the end of that game where he actually had an impactful run and one catch. We had that one-handed catch. Everything else,
he was 11 for 28.
Terrible. And I mean, how much came on that one run? It was probably a 12-yard run.
15.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
he was 10 for 13.
It's terrible. I mean, it's
outside
terrible.
of that 15-yarder. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just insane. And you're, like you said, all credit to them. It's a great point you bring up. It's going to be a really interesting conversation that they will have about those two, because it really comes down to this: are you ready to hand it over to Broderick Washington? Are you ready to hand it over to Isaiah Mack? Are you ready to hand it over to Justin Madubuike, who is not, skill wise aligned to Brandon Williams, right? Like, they're different players. So it's going to be interesting, but certainly yesterday, I mean, those guys set the tone. And like you said, did everything they could to look at the Ravens suck in the past, which they do. They're worse in the league. That's right. Worse than the Jags, worse than the Jets, worse than the name any dumpster fire team. And they're better than us in defending the pass. But first in the run, you got to look squarely at those guys. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I also want to talk about, let's keep going with the defense. You talked about Jimmy Smith, and I don't want to get to the secondary quite yet, because I was so excited to come on here and talk about Patrick Queen having himself a day, right?
Yeah.
But, Hall of Famers, we said at the beginning of the show, they're consistent. Great players are consistent. And I saw somebody put in here, Patrick Queen played his butt off yesterday, but in crucial moments, in the open field, Naji Harris made him look embarrassing.
He didn't play his butt off.
Yeah, no, there were huge plays.
He had one really big play.
Yeah.
Where he came in the backfield. Remember, I was like, wow, where's that?
Right.
But that was it. I mean, just to put in perspective, let me name you the guys that had more tackles than your starting middle linebacker. Starting middle linebacker should have your most tackles, right?
Did Brandon Williams have more tackles?
Chuck Clark had more tackles. Josh Bynes, Calais Campbell, Tyus Bowser, Brandon Williams, Brandon Stevens, Jimmy Smith, Chris Westry, Chris Board, Tony Jefferson, Kevon Seymour, Justin Madubuike, all had more tackles.
That sounds like an uninterested player.
Than Patrick Queen, yeah. Who, by the way, is probably faster than every single one of those guys I just mentioned. So it's not a physical thing. It's not like he just couldn't get there. So, I mean, what is his excuse? I mean, Josh Bynes physically doesn't match up athletically to what Pat
it's fundamentals. It's fundamentals.
And it's between the ears. I mean, it's a lot of it is instincts. Do you want to be a physical guy? If you're a middle linebacker, you have to play with a level of physicality. And I don't know if Patrick Queen will ever have that in him. I mean, it's just, it's so frustrating to look up and see Tony Jefferson outplay a guy who's been with us for the last couple of years. Tony Jefferson was floating around from team to team and had, major surgery during this last couple of years. And yet he came out, just been with us a couple of weeks, and he completely outshined Patrick Queen. I mean, I'm just disappointed, and I thought this would be a huge year for him, a year where he makes a big leap. And honestly, it's been a sophomore slump, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't, to me, the only thing you can do moving forward to get the most out of him is you've got to put a guy next to him that can, and Bynes kind of does this, but you want like a guy that's maybe a little younger. But you need someone that is going to mask his deficiencies, right? Where he's an absolute liability. So, and then just let him do what the limited things that he's good at. Right. But the disappointing thing is that being a first rounder, you're expected to be a staple, especially here in Baltimore, good at everything. Right. Like we wanted, now he's much smaller, but we wanted a Roquan Smith type like guy, like a guy that's here every single play. He's absolute Velcro, tackles everyone, and he can play in the pass. Patrick Queen can't tackle everyone, and he can't play in the pass.
No. Can't do either. He's bad in the run game. He's bad in the passing game. Other than that, he's a pretty good linebacker.
We should make a shirt that says that. It's pretty good.
I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And look, they're not going to give up on him, and I don't want them to, because we see the unlocked potential that he has with his physical traits. But will they ever be able to unlock them? And honestly, if you can't unlock your physical talents as a linebacker here in Baltimore, I don't know where you can, because this typically this defense just makes middle linebackers a ton of money, whether it's here or elsewhere, but not for him for whatever reason. Man, it's just frustrating, because you just see you see on that one play where he bursts in the backfield and you're like, wow, why don't we see more of this?
And even the other play I have to give him credit for, where he kept up with the receiver. It was like an out route and he pushed him out of bounds. Like, he has the speed to do that.
Yep.
Right. Like, he can absolutely do that. And he shines in those moments where other linebackers, the receiver will be able to turn the corner. Right. I can't remember if it was a receiver or a running back, probably a running back. But either way, you see him shine in those moments. And then, like you said, the peaks and the valleys are so distinct from one another. Right. Yeah. It's insane. So, and then the secondary, I mean, I don't know how much I can bang on the secondary, right? Because they're a skeleton crew. Obviously, we wish Jimmy would have played better. I think Chuck Clark did drop an interception yesterday, didn't he?
No, it was Brandon Stevens.
Oh, that was Brandon Stevens. You're right. Brandon Stevens.
Which is even harder to watch, because that guy played offense for most of his life.
Yeah, and, it got so bad that you mentioned in the game, I think from the end of the third quarter on, Brandon Stevens was an outside corner for us, who has never played corner in the NFL once in his life at this point. So
at least not outside. He might have played some slot, but he ain't played no outside.
Yeah, so definitely a tough one for the secondary. I think if anyone, there's no passes, but it's hard to grade the secondary in that, at least in yesterday's game, so beat up, man. So beat up.
Yeah, and I think you saw when they had Tavon still in there in the first half how they were playing well. But when you have Jimmy on one side, Brandon Stevens on the other side, and Kevon Seymour in the slot, I mean, at this point, you can want for those guys to play like Pro Bowlers, but if you really think about it, they kind of overplayed. They even outplayed themselves. Like, they played better than they probably should have played when you consider they're lined up against Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson, and they got a Hall of Famer in Big Ben while he's past his prime, certainly. And then they got Pat Freiermuth, who's looking like a legit option at tight end. They got a lot of good players, and so even though they ultimately gave up some big time plays and big moments that ultimately led to them losing, I still don't think that they played below what they should have played. They still played above their grade, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's just that they shouldn't have been in that position, and it's not like it's their fault. They had injuries, so
right. But I want if it's cool with you, I want to kind of turn the corner with this thought, unless you got more to say specifically about this game.
No, I think that's pretty. I mean, shout out to Chuck Clark, 9 tackles yesterday. The guy certainly played his tail off. Ravens O's Nations, as much as yesterday sucks, and as long as an offense, as it will be. Oh, off season, I think he was saying, as long as an off season it will be. We have the 14th pick in the draft, and we have the last place schedule next year.
Did you see the opponents, dude? The home and away opponents.
Is it Love
today? It is.
It's Love. It is interesting because.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because next year, let's see how the Bengals do with a first place schedule and not a last place schedule. Let's see how things change, because it's time for the big boys.
Yeah, that's right. No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, obviously, we'll have the Bengals at home, we'll have the Steelers at home, but outside of that, I think our toughest home game is the Bills, and I'm looking forward to that. But the rest of them, we should win. Anyway, I'm not going to get way too far ahead of myself, but I'll say this. There's an exciting away game that 410 Sports Talk should be at, barring any mishaps, and that is old Tampa Bay. Baby.
Tampa Bay.
That's right. Going down to Tampa, seeing old Tom Brady's rickety self play.
Who's going there?
Us.
Why are we going there?
Because we're going to go watch him play against the Ravens.
Oh, we're going to go?
Yes.
I didn't even know.
Yes. Well, I looked at the away games and said.
Well, hopefully Tom's still there. I hope so. Because I wouldn't mind. I've seen him a couple times in Ravens Stadium, but
I've never seen Tom live. That's why I thought it'd be a good game to go to. I think it's the most interesting away game.
Well, it'd probably be the best weather, too, so I'm not mad about that, because after yesterday. I got my dose of poor weather, and I'm done with it for a little while. Because not only did we get a full game, we got some extra football.
But this is the other, absolutely. This is the other thing too. If the Steelers are hot garbage, we're going to an away game to Heinz Field, and we're just
gonna let all of them know.
Just mash them all. Yep.
Well, we're gonna let them hear it, just like we did yesterday until they had the last laugh. Social Raven says, I think O-line will be, fine next year with people coming back in 1 million mid-round picks. Would you rather have Sauce Gardner at cornerback, Jordan Godzilla Davis at D tackle, who can penetrate, or Nakobe Dean? We're going to get into a lot of draft stuff. I guess preliminary right now, if I had to choose between those, I would likely go with D tackle because I'm not sure what the status is, and I'd be kind of surprised if the Ravens, even though I know he's valuable and certainly showed his worth, I'd be surprised if they're able to bring back both Calais and Brandon Williams.
Yeah.
And I think if they're forced to choose, I think they go Calais because of the fact that because I think Brandon still wants a relative, like he can get a deal where it's multi-year, whereas Calais, I think at this point will be fine with being on those, even if it's masked as a 2-year deal where it's really just a 1-year guarantee and the second year is just for cap purposes. I think he's the more logical guy to bring back, and also he brings you a little bit more in the passing game than Brandon Williams does. So I guess if I had to, I'd take Godzilla in the center. And
this is my with Nakobe. I mean, we'll see him tonight on the biggest stage in college, right?
Excited. But can't wait.
He's only 6 foot 225.
Well, tell Aaron Donald that. No, but I know your point. I knew.
But Pat, we already got an undersized guy. Yeah, now, I haven't seen Nakobe play a ton. I don't know how his physicality is. So I'm interested, and I'll be looking at that tonight because I am ready to pull the ripcord on Pat McQueen or Patrick Queen. Yeah. I'm ready for it. Like I can't do it anymore.
Because we need a guy, so undersized doesn't scare me as much because they said the same thing.
It's the way he plays.
Exactly.
It's the same thing about Ray.
Exactly. Ray.
It's the attitude with which you play.
We were surprised to see, what was Kelly Gregg third in our franchise's history in tackles? I mean, that blew my mind. Dude. I mean, I would have never guessed that Kelly Gregg, from the position he's playing, being an undersized guy, would be third in Ravens history.
All want to, dude.
Size certainly plays a factor, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Kelly Gregg also, random fact, 3-time state champion in wrestling. So when he got his hands on, he probably has the strongest grip on the team.
Yeah,
his hands on you, you're going down.
Yeah,
I'd like to know if he can squish an apple with one hand.
Probably.
It's really hard. That's what.
Anyway, come on now. It's his family show.
Yeah, I know. But I want to turn the corner with this, Glenn, with a ray of sunshine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ravens have 40 players under contract, 22 unrestricted free agents, $18.8 million in cap, 10 draft picks, 9 restricted free agents, 11 in total between the two classifications of restricted free agents.
Mm-hmm.
So got a lot of things that are going on this offseason.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, of those 10 picks, I believe that 9 of them are in the first 90 picks.
Crazy amount. Which tells me this, Jimbo, be ready for some movement in the draft.
Yep.
I'd be surprised if all those picks could make this team. So I wouldn't be shocked at all to see a package of picks be used to move up and go after a guy they really like.
And let me say one more thing. Arthur Hall, can you say something positive? Can you say one positive thing about the Baltimore Ravens? Not sure if you're a fan.
I know. Can you mention maybe someone you do like on the team? Because all I see is all the people you dislike and want fired. Bishotti apparently is now complacent, even though he consistently adds to
Go to the facility.
I mean, it's top notch.
Can we say, give us a solution? You're giving us tons of problems. Give us a solution.
Yeah. I'd like to see some people maybe you like. John, appreciate it. He says he's a Steelers fan, but he loves Ravens week. And let me ask you this before we turn the page. Look, we booed Big Ben. We called him a bunch of names, and I'm not necessarily upset to see him leaving. But part of me was a little upset in that, is Big Ben the last member of the old guard versus old guard, Steelers versus Ravens true rivalry? I think he's the last one. And so in that regard, it's a little bit sad because,
it binds. I mean, he's
but he was never a guy that would ever even get mentioned.
He didn't move the needle, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and does Brandon Williams count?
No, because Haloti Ngata to me was the guy in the interior.
I'm really grasping at straws here.
Yeah, it's just kind of sad in the sense that it's a full turning the page of an end of an era, which was the era that we really fell in love with this rivalry. With I mean, I don't know. It's kind of sad a little bit. Not upset to see him leaving. I guess Brandon Thompson's correct in saying that Jimmy Smith and Pernell McPhee, but they're not. Well, I guess Jimmy was yesterday, and we certainly saw Pernell. But so I guess so. Yeah, they're the last one. Sam Cook certainly was around them, but yeah, I wouldn't call him a member of the old guard. He's a punter, and he had a stinker of a punt yesterday. One of them, which drove us a little crazy. But
one job.
And Arthur's still just mentioning all the ones that stink, like how Lamar is terrible.
No, but Sam Cook is a legend.
There we go.
No, I have nothing to do. I'm not. What does that have to do with criticism? You're not even criticizing us. I don't understand this.
Yeah, I mean, mention one. Is there anyone that's okay?
Like,
Sam Cook. Okay.
You're just bashing the team. Like,
yeah, I mean, I get that there's moments, but to call Lamar terrible is silly. I mean, he led the league in passing touchdowns.
It's not silly. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. I mean, you can say you can criticize moments in parts of his game, but
sure.
He led the league in passing touchdowns, unanimous MVP, he's the most prolific runner of the quarterback position ever.
If you want to walk in a room full of strangers and start talking football, right? You want to gain credibility. One of the fastest ways to immediately be labeled as a guy that knows nothing about football is to say, man, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, he stinks.
Right.
What?
Right.
Like, that's the fastest way for anyone else in the room to be like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to this guy's takes anymore because he's kind of an idiot.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Why would it matter if he finishes in the top 20 in passing attempts? That's a dumb statistic. It's really stupid. He led the league in touchdowns.
That's pretty good, right? Passing touchdowns.
That's okay.
From the pocket. But correct me. Did he not?
No, it's
2019. Let me look up the 2019 passing
statistical
stats.
like facts are factual, dude. It is not an opinion. Like, facts build Lamar Jackson's case. I'm not spending more time on this. This is madness.
Yeah, it's silly.
Someone's just like
yeah, it's absolutely silly talk, and we're not going to have any of it.
But my point in turning that and kind of talking about that was that there's so much to talk about, and we are so excited about it. In the cap space that we have, in the potential deal that Lamar Jackson will be getting, in the creativity, in who's coming back, in the new folks that'll be coming in. A few things that we're gonna do. We're the Marlins, but Lamar Jackson isn't a good football player. You live on a different planet, idiot. All right, so one of the things I want to say is we're gonna do a lot of stuff this offseason. A few things we're going to do just off the top of my head. We're going to rate the draft class. We're going to rate every position. We're going to rate the coaching staff, like rank them, give them grades. We're going to say who should go, who should stay as far as the coaching staff. We're going to go over the unrestricted free agents. We have 22 of them. Who should we keep? Who should we let go? I mean, the list goes on and on. There's so many things. We're going to plan for the draft. How do they strategize? Glenn kind of talked about that with moving up and down. Start looking at prospects, fits, and things like that. There's so many. Not a great quarterback. He led the league in passing touchdowns. Check your stats. But there's so many things we're going to get into that I'm so excited. We're going to start doing really awesome live productions once a month where we have 3, 4, maybe 5 guests at once come into the show, hop in, hop out. There's going to be so many awesome things going on this offseason. I can't wait. So make sure you stay tuned. Rock with us. I mean, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, look, it's disappointing the season's over, but I'm a football junkie who loves the offseason. I love the free agency period. Obviously love the draft, the whole build up to the draft. It's exciting. It's fun. And when you have a ton of picks, it certainly helps. And Chris White points to the draft and talking about Jamison Williams and Drake London. I'd be very surprised to see the Ravens do much at the receiver position when you consider all the guys they have who are really just waiting for their turn. I mean, you saw earlier someone talk about how Prochet was a healthy scratch. Well, I'd be surprised if Sammy Watkins is back when you consider that Bateman's waiting. Hollywood is still going to be here.
He cashed his check and went home a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, so I think that we have what we need in-house already at the receiver position. I mean, you could add some guys maybe in the late rounds if you just want to take a flyer on guys you really like. But I'd be surprised if there's any receivers taken in the first 4 rounds. I say 3 rounds. I'd be really surprised because they got what they need in-house, and when they have the tutelage of Keith Williams already in the building, which, by the way, I just saw a tweet from Davante Adams that said, I don't. Man, I wish. Let me see if I can find it because it was really cool.
While you do that, Arthur Hall, can we make a bet, my man? You just get me all fired up.
Why are you giving? He's a clear troll. Why are you giving a troll any?
Because he's going to come back on our show in 3 years when Lamar Jackson is gone. So number one,
no, he won't. Trolls never come back.
I will bet you. I will shave off my eyebrows as long as you agree to do the same. I will bick them. No eyebrows, dude. I will have to Sharpie these suckers on for every work call.
You know, a contrarian troll
in 3
is
years
always going to have an answer for you.
Lamar Jackson's getting more than a 3-year deal. Next year, he's still on his rookie. That's a 5th-year option. They're picking him up. So you're telling me he's not going to be there for another 2 years after that? Dude, you're insane.
Yeah, and before he was hurt, he was on pace, like Gomes says, for 4,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing, which has never been done and will never be done. So it's just he's just a clown. But Davante Adams, when getting back to you know what? Just to stop. Oh, you blocked him. I was. Just put him in timeout. No more blocking. Timeouts only.
I didn't really think about the difference.
Yeah, always timeouts. We don't need to block. I don't mind the clowns. But anyway,
unblock.
I want to.
It's too late now. The deed is done.
Just remember, just put him in timeout, and if he says something reckless again, we'll put him in another timeout. Because by the way, Jimmy, he is watching. So thanks for watching, Arthur. Davante Adams tweet out he says, for clarity, I absolutely do drills. However, all the drills I do are 100% transferable to what I do and how I play on Sunday. And there's one person I get them from. And that's Keith Williams. Have a good evening. That's all he said. So we already have the single best receiving coach in the league, in the country. He's already on the staff. We got the best of the best, the top receivers. If they want tutelage, who do they go to? They go to the guy who's already employed by the Ravens.
Yep.
So we got a monopoly on it now. That position. Exactly. They went out and said, who's the best private what do you want? What do we got to pay you to make you become a member of our staff? And so apparently they're happy with your blocking, Jimmy. It's a resounding success, according to the commenters. But
appreciate that, guys.
But so I'm confident in what we have in the building. I think we just need to continue to grow, and I think a full offseason with these guys working with them is certainly going to help all those guys get even better.
Yeah. And now that's just another thing we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the receiver room, what to expect, grade them, what to expect moving forward. You know, so many things. I can't wait to talk about the whole line because people want to, start investing draft capital. But we do have a lot of guys there, and there's, Bozeman and so many things. Anyway, I mean, it was a blast. Just to sum it all up, it was an absolute blast of a season, a painful season, but fun, entertaining nonetheless. Yeah. The Baltimore Ravens I think they have the ingredients in the pot to get it done, right? Like, obviously, I'm not going to blame injuries for everything, but injuries had a lot to do with the outcome of this season. Anytime you lose your quarterback on top of what you already lost, it's just, it's never really a recipe for success. You shouldn't really expect too much more.
And just remember, when Lamar was still there, even with the litany of injuries around him, the Ravens were 8-3. 8-3, and they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. So,
just saying.
Any team loses their quarterback for the last 7 games, or was it last 6, but 7 overall if you include the Chicago game, it's an uphill climb for anyone. So I'm going to give the Ravens, and it's not like they hung it up, they folded, none of that. They fought to the very last play of the very last game, and so you got to give credit, where it's due there. But we're going to have to turn the page, and of course we'll talk, about what we see, throughout the postseason and all that stuff. We will bring up certain things. But our focus is, of course, on the Ravens. So we'll certainly we'll grade what they did, this season, and then we'll start talking about what happens next season. But the biggest thing we want to say is thank you to everyone who comes out here every day, every time we go live, every time we drop a recorded video. You comment, you watch, you make your opinions heard, and we we love that. We appreciate that. It means a bunch to us. And all those who watch, silently and don't feel like they want to comment or get involved. We appreciate you guys just as much. But we got to announce our final competition winner of the season, a competition winner who will receive not just one piece of clothing, but will get two. They'll get a t-shirt and a hoodie in the mail. And our final competition was a heated one, even amongst the staff. It really, maybe our best results of the season as a staff. But let's see who won our competition as the show first, and then we'll move on to who
DK
won as the fans.
All right, let's see it, DK. Oh, let's just pull up the slide.
Oh my goodness, we don't need
to go right to the slide.
Never a fan of the slide.
And I think with the slide, you can also put up the results that you had.
I only had two. I thought I had three. Am I getting wins taken away from me? I mean, what has happened? I only won twice.
Ew.
And the reason I lost is because I thought the Ravens would sack Big Ben.
And I gave you every out, Glenn. Every chance.
Look, they had their third left tackle. I mean, how many guards are they on?
Every chance in the world, dude.
So frustrating. You have to restart the music, man. Jimmy,
oh, no, this is the second verse,
I'm
dude.
So into it. We don't need that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, we got
what all I know is next year, guys, you're going to see a whole new determined Glenn. I'm going to
take this off, DK. I just want to say, I want to tell this to you, Glenn. You ready? Watch how we bounce back.
That's right, DK. We're coming for that ass.
Watch how we bounce back, son.
Because now you're getting the number one schedule, and we're getting the easier schedule, right?
That's right. How watch how we bounce back.
We're getting the last place schedule.
Said the great Chuck Clark, right? No, for sure. And then our contestant to win, two-time winner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or third, too. Jason Moyer, you won it, my man. Shout out to Jason. And because you won, Jason, hit us up on Twitter. We can either send you more merchandise or we'll give you an Amazon gift card of the same value. So hit us up on anywhere, DM us anywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to let us know what you would prefer, and we will get that out to you right away. But shout out, Glenn. Last thing before we do some shout outs to our viewers. Can we give DK a big thank you for another great season?
DK.
Thank you, Daniel. Guys, give your love to Daniel. He killed it this year.
Absolutely. By the way, just if anyone is unfamiliar with how DK got his start, he originated as just like every one of you guys, as a fan participant in our competitions, and just won every single one of them hands down. And then, in fact, just really cemented that with his draft watching and predicted, I think, the first 7 or 8 draft picks correctly. So this is just what he does, and so that's kind of how he became part of this show. Was originally just as a fan and contest participant, and of course now he's so much more. So shout out to DK and all that he does to help the show and really help you guys, because a lot of this competition stuff is DK runs it. So
it's his baby.
Yeah, absolutely, and we see, because he wins every single week, no matter how much I want him to lose. But yeah, so shout out to DK. But also, shout out to everyone. Lindsay Taylor's been riding with us for a long, long time. Appreciate your continued support. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Charles, thanks for jumping in with us. Herb Jones been with us again for a long time. I've seen his name a lot. Little Trev, appreciate you. Hey, Little Trev says if we ever need some logo or motion art, hit him up. We might have to do that, Little Trev, because we may be in the market. DM us, Little Trev, because we appreciate that. We
need help.
As we grow, we continue to want to improve and expand. So that's something that's definitely on the horizon. So Lil Trev, please DM us somewhere on social media, and we will begin a conversation. Abdi Hassan has been with us again from way back. Appreciate your continued support. Channel Dirty 7. Hey, make sure. Are we looking into this? He says he got one of his prizes and didn't get the other. I know you recently just put in some orders too, Jimbo. So let's make sure that
DM me and I'll review it. I mean, I can just check the orders to see if it's on their way. I know some of them have been delayed based on COVID and the holidays and stuff like that. So just DM us and we'll look into it for sure.
Yeah, appreciate your continued support. Another guy has been there from the start. Adam78 as well, been there from the beginning. Thank you for always looking after us. Tanja Bowman, Tanja Bowman goes back. Probably, was it before we even were on YouTube? I mean, we were just a pod. So definitely appreciate your continued support. Brandon Thompson, yes. He said, let me guess, DK1. Yes. Damn it. Every time. Yes. He won again. This is not something I'm happy with. I'm a sore loser. I'm a baby. So
as the world turns, right?
Yeah, I mean,
DK
it's
wins.
like the sun came up and DK won. I mean, what else is new? Water's wet. Raven Ron, appreciate your support and continued viewership. Always seeing your name popping up. Axel, thanks for always being out there with us. Bradley Winterling, appreciate you guys. I'm sure I missed a ton. I'm sorry if I did. But yes, it's under review. But thank you guys for everything. But don't forget, we're not going anywhere. The season may be over for the Ravens, but
this is when our season really starts.
Yeah, honestly, we probably kick it up a notch a little bit in the offseason because there's just so much to talk about and not a lot of distractions as far as the actual games, if that's a good way of putting it. But we will be back. We weren't going anywhere, and we will continue to put out hopefully some good content that you guys like to enjoy. But that's it for us tonight. We will be back soon, I think tomorrow. So not taking a whole lot of time off, and we will talk to you guys then.
See ya.